Okay, so Elon Musk has been accused of sexual misconduct, and I feel bad for the guy. This must be one of the most horrendous things that a man can be accused of, especially when there's indication that it's probably not true. However, I expected this. This is not surprising to me at all. In fact, I tweeted last week to Elon Musk and said, okay, so first you try to acquire Twitter, and under the guise, not the guise, but under the promise of restoring free speech, and what happens? The left calls you a racist. They say, oh, you grew up in South Africa, you're from South Africa. You know, there's a lot of racism, a lot of oppression of Black people there, a segregated society. You're a racist too. So you embrace a policy position like free speech that sadly is now more of a Republican policy position, and the left immediately accuses you of being a racist. But then Elon Musk posted that he will be voting Republican in the midterm elections. He said the Democrats have gotten too crazy. The Republicans are offering what makes sense, policies that make sense for our economy. So I will be voting Republican. And he said, I think a lot of people are, because they're turned off by how radical, how Marxist, how communist the left has gotten ideologically. And I said, but then you said that you're going to vote Republican. So watch out. What's going to happen is they're not only going to try to derail your Twitter deal. They're not only going to call you a racist. They're not only going to try to engage in a character assassination, but wait for the sexual assault, sexual misconduct allegations. They're going to trot out some kind of pawn, some kind of woman to make this allegation. And literally the next day, a woman accused Elon Musk of sexual misconduct. She said she was a flight attendant on one of his planes and that he offered her, this is her allegation, he offered to give her a horse if she would, give him sexual favors. And her allegation, she claimed that she had proof of this because Elon Musk's company paid her $250,000 to settle this. And a couple of things here. First of all, it's more of a coincidence. It can't be a coincidence if you look at the history of how the Democrats are responding to Elon Musk, right? If you look at this idea that he's trying to restore free speech to Twitter, it would break up the big tech monopoly, which threatens not just the big tech monopoly in and of itself, but it threatens this evil trifecta of big government, corrupt politicians, and big media and big tech controlling information and therefore controlling people's minds, therefore controlling people's votes. It breaks up this big tech thing. So this big tech monopoly. So the left is fundamentally, existentially threatened by Elon Musk, threatening to break it up, then promising to restore free speech threatens them even more, because what's better than the bad information the left gives us is more information, good information, countering information, dissenting information. It sharpens what we know when there's competing information. They're very threatened by that, so they call him a racist, and then he says he's going to vote Republican. They don't want him to be the face of someone who used to be leftist and now thinks, oh, it's okay for me to be Republican because the left has gone nuts and the Republicans are pretty normal. They don't want people to follow his lead. And so they're like, okay, we have to cancel him. We have to demonize him. We have to get rid of him. We have to destroy him. We will accuse him of sexual misconduct. It's no coincidence that that we've seen this unfold in the last month and a half. This is the Democrats' playbook. They're evil. They're evil, but they're very predictable. So a couple of things. First of all, the $250,000 settlement is not an admission of guilt at all. In fact, oftentimes when executives are accused or falsely accused of things, the big umbrella corporation will pay to settle with the accuser because they would rather spend what's to them a piddly amount of money to make someone be quiet than to have this drag out in court, to have their reputation tarnished, the executive's reputation tarnished, especially if it's not true. And so it's not an admission of guilt. And think about $250,000 to a billionaire. That's like dropping a $20 bill. Of course, you're going to drop a $20 bill to take care of a nuisance. Why wouldn't you? The other thing is this wasn't paid by Elon Musk personally. It was the company. And so I've actually heard of a high-level official at a very large company who was falsely accused of sexual assault, who wanted to fight it in court, who said, I don't care about the reputation. I will not be falsely accused. And the company said, well, since this lawsuit is technically against the company, we don't care if you want to fight it. We're not going to fight it. We're just going to pay. We're going to settle this person. We understand that you say it's false. We're going to settle this so that it doesn't become a public thing. And the executive was infuriated, was really angry about this because he wanted to fight this, but it was the company's decision. This is the same scenario. This was the company that paid this off. So we have no idea if Elon wanted to pay this off or didn't want to pay this off. The company, when I say the company, it's almost in quotation marks, but I shouldn't put it in quotation marks, because when business decisions like this are made by companies, they have a responsibility not just to protect their, in this case, CEO, Elon Musk, they have a responsibility to their shareholders. How much would this have cost their company in totality if it were actually to have gone to some kind of arbitration, if it were to have become public, if it were to become a trial? How much would they have paid in legal fees? How much would they have paid in their CEO's time? How much would it have cost the company because of the reputational hit that the company would have taken? They not only have a responsibility to, I guess, make this go away, especially when they think it's a false allegation, but they have a responsibility to their shareholders to make sure that the value of the company doesn't plummet. So none of that is an admission of guilt. It's just a nuanced, complicated thing that happens often to high-level executives, because we know that high-level executives are targets of allegations of sexual misconduct. Part of the reason is because women know they can get settlements like this. They know they can get 15 minutes of fame. Sometimes they think that they can score political points if they are ideological, or if those who are prompting them to bring forth allegations are ideological, and they think that these allegations will serve some ideological purpose. There's 1.5 million reasons why an allegation like this might have been levied, and it doesn't mean for a second that it's true. It means that we owe whoever's making the allegation to listen to them. We should listen to all women, but we shouldn't believe all women, and we shouldn't use corporate practices like settling as any kind of indication of whether this is true or this is false. Elon Musk obviously denies these misconduct allegations. He says that this never happened, and unless there's more evidence that it did, I look at the history and I look at the Democrats' playbook and I say this is predictable and they're very evil, and it's going to take a lot more than this to convince me that there is any substance to this allegation.